learning communities in schools focus on 3 areas to improve teaching effectiveness. This includes reflecting on current teaching practice while looking at task designs and assessments, a close examination of the impact of the teaching practices on student learning and deepening student understanding of key concepts, then articulating new learning for teachers to improve teaching practices and identifying next steps in teaching to deepen student understanding.
We have 3 different programs in my school, so it's nice to see all programs being able to come together. And when we can target one area of it in a way that teachers find valuable and can find authentic ways of doing it in their own way, in their own classrooms, but having a commonality to it, that seems to have made a difference.
A few of them, I still find some of them are just pulling out numbers, and I think what we've come to as a good idea is to model it even more on the smartboard. Maybe go down and say, I'm going to say, pick out the biggest facts from this question, and then work on this. I'm going to say this because I'm going to show you this because.
And show your procedure. How do you write that down in words? I think definitely he's a 3 or 2, even a 2 in here for communication, because I find that's where my kids have the most problem.
But do you not find, like, when you look on this page, to me this is communication for what he did. Like, he counted by 4s and he's showing what he's counted by.
Yeah. And 1 left over, 3 left over. So yes, he was counting. So he figured it out and he picked a strategy.
Yeah, like a 4 would maybe have been explaining why he did that.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's the collaborative aspect where teachers are learning from each other that has been a real value as well. Understanding how critical thinking can be developed. So concrete examples of here's what I did in my class. The example I gave earlier around an activity where they were create a 2 response to this critical challenge, create a 3 response. That gave a teacher an idea of where they can take this. And she actually said, oh, I can use that in developing this. So it can be transferred, and it can be transferred beyond the initial application in the math critical challenges to something that applies in the development of writing sound. So they make their own judgment about ranking themselves on the rubric between a 2 and 3?
Yes, so okay. I give them a 1 and I give them a 4, and we talk a little bit about things that could be found in the middle, like maybe we have some of this but not of this. So they have to make a judgment call. What do I think is a 2? What do I think? Because part of it too is if they feel like they've really understood this, they're going to give themselves a 3. If they feel like maybe they could have done better, they'll give themselves a 2. That's my thought process for how they're going to deal with it.
Oh, and 1 and 4 are clearly defined. Right?
They are.
Those are the easy ones. It's that middle, that gray
But that's
area.
where the critical.
And that so the students are understanding their strengths, they're understanding where they need to go with their learning, and they understand the resources that they can access when they need help.
As a leader of teacher learning, the following key structural and pedagogical ideas should be considered when facilitating effective learning communities. An agenda is sent out ahead of time so teachers have time to prepare. Expectations for the meeting are clear, and there is a consistent, predictable format that is followed at each meeting. Time is allocated efficiently and without distractors. This time is dedicated to improve student learning through teacher collaboration, and is allocated at the beginning of the year and is not disrupted by other matters that arise throughout the year. An atmosphere of respect and trust is established so that teachers feel comfortable surfacing problems of practice and benefit from having other professionals weigh in on what helps students to develop a deeper understanding of key concepts. The goal for the professional learning community is directly connected to improving student learning. The learning leader steers the conversation back to this focus so that time is utilized efficiently with this goal in mind. Student work is used as the evidence to inform next steps. Without evidence of student learning, the impact of the teaching practices cannot be accounted for. Evidence of student work drives the conversation and decision-making of the teaching team. The time together is not about celebrating success, but about surfacing and reflecting on problems of practice with the intention of improving teaching practices, which in turn impact student outcomes. Reflective questions are used to encourage teaching practices to move forward. The learning leader skillfully steers the conversation back to what really matters in teaching and learning, and encourages teachers to make their practice visible so that others can learn and reflect on effective teaching practices. The learning leader stays up to date with regards to current research on assessment and task design, and uses this research to inform discussion and actionable next steps. The professional learning communities are accountable to demonstrate how their work is impacting student outcomes. Before breaking at the end of a professional learning session, mutually agreed upon next steps are established before closing the meeting, and enough time is allocated for teachers to collect the necessary items needed for the next meeting.